Hello everybody and welcome to Goodison Park. It's not a match day, so I've been given the freedom of the place, and what an honour it is. And today's guest is a very, very special one indeed. Now let me make sure I don't miss out anything here. Having spent 70 years travelling back and forth from his home in North America to end up here, he's a man behind many Everton initiatives. So without further ado, the founder of the Gwlady Street Hall of Fame and the renowned Former Players Foundation. He's been bestowed a Citizen of Honour by the City of Liverpool, as well as the small matter of an OBE. He's the lifetime president of the Shareholders Association. He put in place our war memorials at the Park End. He's the creator of the famous Everton Collection, the most remarkable collection of any in the world. He's authored 19 Everton books, and I know that there are more to come as well. And last but certainly not least, he is the founder of our very own Everton Heritage Society. So I think that's probably going to come up in discussion today. I'm really looking forward to talking to Dr David France. Enjoy the show.
Marching down the Goodison Road.
One of Britain's greatest footballers.
Sharp, what a fantastic goal! And the Evertonians have gone berserk. Oh, yes, he's got it!
One Evertonian is worth 20 Liverpudlians.
Oh, it's great stuff by Everton.
This is football heritage.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Everton Heritage Show, brought to you by members of the official Everton FC Heritage Society. My name's Lewis Royden and I am very fortunate to be chatting today to Dr David France in this wonderfully historic location.
Oh, it's magnificent, isn't it? It really is our home. I was at the new stadium yesterday, but this is where I belong.
Yeah. How do you feel walking back? I mean, you won't have been back here since the last day.
The last day,
against
yeah.
Southampton.
I'm impressed by, people have said that when they took the seats out, the stadium was in disarray. I'm quite pleased with the way it looks. I think it looks very tidy. It's still Goodison.
Yeah.
And they've got tarpaulin covering where the empty seats, where the seats were. But it looks great. Anyone want a place to play football?
Absolutely. A whole new era beginning, it seems. I mean, before we do anything at all, how are you? How's your health? Are you well?
No.
Oh,
But,
all right.
As you may see, I've dropped a little weight since I last saw you.
You look good.
That's very kind of you to say. I'm coming from you. I consider that to be a compliment.
Thanks very much.
No, but I know I'm getting on in years now, and compared to some of my peers, I think I'm in good shape.
Yeah, you're active at least. You know, at least you're not sitting around.
Both physically and mentally.
Absolutely. You've flown over, of course, from your home in North America to be with us this week. Possibly even against doctor's orders, I believe. So.
It was, yeah, and worse than that, against my wife's orders.
And yeah, Elizabeth hasn't come with you this time.
No, she forbid me to come, but I convinced the doctor. I may have mentioned this to you already, but I went to the doctor with my wife, and he said that my blood pressure is so low that I can't fly and I can't drive. Of course, I drove to the doctor's, but that's another story. And then I went back on my own a week later, and convinced him. He's someone from Arizona, but he used to live in Chelsea, and he's a Chelsea fan. So we have something in common. Not that we have much in common with Chelsea. Like, you know,
but football fans,
we get the points deductions, and they don't.
Yeah.
And I said to him, his name is John Rooney. I said, John, our deal was always for you to get me to 80. That's our deal. You know,
Yeah.
I've gone through lots of medical issues, and I said I've changed the rules now. My goal is you've got to get me there until Everton win the League Cup. Okay. And he said, if that's the case, then I think you can expect a telegram from King Charles.
No, you'll be 81. I'm wondering, you know, as you say, flying back and forth, have done for many years. It's nothing new to you. Have you kept track of your air miles over the years?
I did do when I did the book, the Everton Crazy book. I calculated then that it was just over 2 million. But that was some time ago. So maybe I'm at 2.1 million, I'd say now. It's 6,000 miles. It's 10.5-hour journey.
Yeah.
Flying time, but of course, door to door, it's like 24 hours.
Yeah, just all for Everton. Has it been worth it?
Yeah, of course it is. You meet your friends. I'm looking at two of them over here, and you see your friends, and you see the smiles on their faces, and they're always glad to see you. Yeah, it's home. Yeah,
that's good to hear. Just as a little bit of background on yourself, 'cause I mean, obviously you're a well-known name to many Evertonians, but perhaps maybe the younger generation may not have seen everything that you've many of the initiatives, or don't know where the initiatives have come from. But a little background on yourself. I mean, you were born in Widnes.
I was, yeah.
How do you then end up in the United States of America as a relatively successful man?
Yeah, you can take that relatively out of it.
Okay. As a successful man?
Yeah, I've told this. I think I may have said this before. I grew up in a slum in Widnes. And when we moved to the council house, that was a big deal. And I was 14 before I could read. Left school at 15, became a gas fitter. Some of the finest people I ever met were gas fitters. And, some of the most intelligent people I've ever met were gas fitters. And then the gas board sent me to university, and I finished up getting 4 degrees. And one of them was in Germany, a PhD in Germany, and then I did an MBA in the United States. And at the end of that, Senator Edward Kennedy invited me to come to the United States to work for people he was associated with. So I worked in the National Nuclear Facility at Oak Ridge, Tennessee. It's a secretive lab where they make weapons. And also for NASA based in California. But I always wanted to work in the oil and gas industry. And I was headhunted by a Renaissance man. Now you think, well, what's a Renaissance man? Well, this guy could speak 7 languages.
Wow.
With using different alphabets. And he used to write poetry in Japanese.
Goodness me.
And he embraced me and my wife. He wasn't sure about, I was only 32 at the time. And he wasn't sure about how mature I was, so he had an industrial psychologist follow us around for a week. Well, if you spend any time with me, I consider you to be a target to become an Evertonian. I'm a missionary. And my job is to convert you to my religion. Yeah. And after the first day, this guy kept on shaking his head, I told him the tales that I tell, but it's always Everton related. And I got the job. And I was only there for 10 years. And I developed the strategic plan that sold the company, a big oil company. And I had operating responsibilities as part of the executive committee. Yeah. It was a wonderful experience. I say it was a wonderful experience for a lad from Widnes, or for a gas fitter from Widnes, but it was a wonderful experience for anyone. Yeah. And I retired at 42. That was the best part of it. So I've spent the last 30-odd years, 35, 36 years, enjoying life in some of the most beautiful places in the world.
That's what we want to hear. Yeah, it sounds like a good way to spend your life. And of course, so much of that has been directed towards this great football club of ours. Yeah. So what was that leap then from into the inner echelons of the club, really? Was it the early 90s, Peter Johnson?
It was the early 90s, Peter Johnson. My lawyer, Norman Jones, is Peter Johnson's lawyer. And I was Peter Johnson's lawyer, and we had a get together. We had a dinner together in Chester, and I had come up with a plan. I mean, Peter knew of me. I think actually I'd written something about him in one of my books, and he wasn't too pleased. So I remember shaking his hand and pleased to meet you, Peter, and he said, I wish I could say the same. Right. So we didn't get off to a particularly good start, but he was a very charming man. Very, very charming, and he took in. He was a businessman. Everything I had to say. One of the things was we're going into a new era now, the Premier League. Yeah. And we're a little bit backwards now. We lost our focus with the death of John Moores. We were no longer on the cutting edge of, even though we were part of the 5 who formed the Premier League. we'd lost our way a bit. So I'd mentioned to him, these are the things that I think a ambitious company should be doing.
And you had a few ideas, didn't you?
Oh,
the way the club should be run, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think some of them have been introduced. I mean, I was good at turning companies around, and I'm always in a very sensitive way, you know, in a benevolent way, because sometimes it means people losing their jobs, and that's always very difficult. But I gave him a cost-cutting, profit improvement type of plan, and he embraced it. Yeah. He said, "This is great. This is what we need to do." You know, and I came up with a few other people who joined me in this in the team, and then he went to the board, and they were suspicious of our intentions. I've told you that before. Yeah. They were suspicious.
Well, you were offering it for free as well, weren't you?
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
no
like,
cost.
I think there's a bit of suspicion with that, of like,
maybe
what is your motive?
What's he doing it for? Yeah. Well, really, the idea was to do it and then to them to follow it. You know, teach them the ways. I mean, I'm not. Hopefully, I'm not coming across in the wrong way. But you know, we're on the cutting edge when we're in Houston, in the oil and gas business. In Houston, we're on the edge of American business practices. Yeah. As we will see with our new friends from Houston, that we can learn from them. Yeah. And you know, transferring that in some shape to Everton would be a challenge, but we had to do it.
And of course, that's the answer really in terms of your motivation. Your motivation is that you're an Evertonian, a die-hard Evertonian, and you want your club.
You can't see the club slipping behind commercially. And well, anyway, they didn't do it, so I went to them and said, I mean, you know, you don't want to implement these things, but here's a list of things that we should implement. Yeah. And we've gone over that before. We call it my initiatives.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of brings me on quite nicely, really. Instead of going, you know, where did it start, and let's go through chronologically, let's go all the way back to, all the way up to now. And part of the reason for you visiting is that we've been working on a little bit of a project, a legacy project, you could say, you know, kind of documenting your Everton stories, basically. So could you just kind of give us an idea of what these recent projects are and what your kind of goals are for them?
Well, let me go through some of them. We did the Former Players Foundation, where we looked after. We were the first ones to do it in the world, and it, as I mentioned, it has been adopted by all the leading clubs, all the benevolent leading clubs, and so we were a trailblazer in that respect, and we still are. And we looked after, I say 100 hips and knees, but I'm sure it's more than that. But we don't do medical procedures. We do living conditions of people. Yeah. We do if they need to be in a nursing home, if they need other support facilities for like alcohol or that type of support, and just looking after them. Yeah. I think
that's the number one initiative of all of them, isn't it? That's
now, the thing is, of course, that there's only so many of them that need that. And I think modern players going back to, I don't know, this century, really, unless they're gamblers or whatever, they should still have some money. They earn that much money.
They're a lot more well paid than players of the past.
For a modern day footballer to go bankrupt, you really have to work hard at it, wouldn't you? You know, you have to have a hell of a lifestyle to do that.
There are cases of former players who've, because of the having to play for the club week by week and try to get the bonuses that they should get, for a £5 bonus, some of them have had to have 20 injections a week in order to get them fit. That, of course, now, when they're getting older, is telling against them. So, of course, their bodies have been hit.
See, the foundation does a great job. They've done such great work here for people like Gordon West, you know, for John Bailey, to support people and help with funerals and hospital care. So without being too morbid, the work of the foundation is both needed and appreciated.
Shouldn't the welfare of ex-players be the responsibility of their former clubs or the players' own union, the PFA?
The PFA do have 90 other clubs to look after, and I think as Evertonians we believe that we should look after our own. We have a saying, the motto of the foundation is once an Evertonian, always an Evertonian, and I think we honestly believe that.
In fact, the PFA have contributed to the fund's work, and there have been donations from the Everton club as well as its present-day players. Charles Lambert, North West Tonight, Liverpool.
You know, sometimes life isn't kind to people. And so we filled the void there, and others followed us. So that was one thing. And I mentioned to you before, I'm very proud of that. We did the Everton Collection. You know, this is this great club that has such a tradition. So, you know, it was on the leading edge. I'm saying that many times. The leading edge of the cutting edge of so many things in the history of football. We are one of the originals, and we're proud. We should be proud of that. But to demonstrate that to people, we need to have a resource base. And that was the Everton Collection. Where, as I mentioned before, I was interested in knowledge, facts and knowledge, not in, well, just facts and knowledge. So it's a tremendous resource base of information. I think now people use it an awful lot.
Absolutely. And it's definitely something I want to talk a little bit more about today with you for sure, because we get so many questions about the collection, because it is very special. And people don't know where to see it, don't know what may happen with it. So, I mean, maybe we'll go on to that shortly. But I mean, the initiatives that you're discussing here, you discussed at length with Chris Beasley.
I did
the Winslow.
He's a very good guy, and it's sad that the Winslow's closed, isn't it?
It is, yeah, very much so. Yeah,
because I think we had a real good sit down there. But let me one of the things I wanted to elaborate today on is the Heritage Society.
Yes, another one of the great initiatives.
This is one of the, we always say this is on behalf of the Heritage Society, but we don't promote ourselves as much as we should do. I mean, we're pretty low key. We don't have to brag about it. I think the quality of the work that is done speaks for itself. And I mean that sincerely. And I'm now going to make reference.
Absolutely.
Because I have to, because I'm an old man.
Please do, yeah.
The mission of the Heritage Society is, we had a mission statement, as any good business would have. And initially it was to be the source of the focal point for any inquiries about the club when it comes to fact. Not opinion, just fact. It would be to encourage collaborative research. And as you know, some of the research that's done is tremendous.
Second to none.
Yeah, absolutely tremendous. The other one is to verify facts. One of the problems we have is that people tell tales and they become fact, but they're not true. I went round the tour yesterday, around the Goodison tour with Chris Beasley, and Chris was pointing out the things that he didn't think were accurate.
Right.
That we need to follow up on, because if it's coming from the club, I mean, we're actually spot on.
Yeah, there are many tales, aren't there? Yeah, that we want to believe.
Oh, we love to believe, don't we?
Yeah, and many, to be clear, many of them are true.
They are.
That's what makes it difficult, isn't it?
What we tend to do by retelling them is we exaggerate them.
Yeah.
You know, we all do that. You know, I'm sure you do with your friends. You know, I'm looking at your dad now. He knows that for a fact. But what also the purpose is to educate people. Is to educate our own family, the Everton family, about our past and our roots, but to also educate non-believers. We don't do a good job of that. You know, we'll get on to what is Everton. You know, how would you describe Everton? But we don't do a good job of that. Then let me tell you now about the Heritage Society. People think the Heritage Society is St Luke's Church and the exhibition and the activities that went on there. And that was great.
Yeah, of course, because that's what people see on a match
day.
They
see, and it's there, the traffic's there, and it's fantastic. And they did a good job, the lads did a good job. When it focused on providing information. Then, of course, we come to our new home here. We've got a facility across the road from the dock. Hopefully it's temporary, but it's not in the same class as the St Luke's.
I think what you get, your main focal point here is that we're not just a match day experience. You know, it's so much more is done by the society.
I'm getting to. We are. I'll go through the list here. We have a website that's second to none. Fantastic. I don't know who developed it or whatever, but you know, I give full credit to them.
Yeah,
I do. It was your dad.
It was, yeah.
And he's a great guy.
And still is.
Yeah, he still is your dad, and he still is a great guy.
And it still is maintained by him as well, yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think it's. I'm sure that it will get its. It'll get 5-star rating from in the future. It's once again, it's like the Former Players Foundation. It's the leading edge. No, I don't think other clubs have it.
They don't. I know this from my own research when you're trying to find things about other clubs, or for example, I don't know, an Everton player or a particular game against somebody else, and you think, oh, well, what can I find out about them? And it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I take it for granted because I think we've got such a great resource here on our Everton history and
and I think we draw also from the Everton Collection to do that. But and I'm going to mention the other sources of information. But the other thing I have here is we also publish articles in the Matchday programme, and they're available on the website.
Yeah.
But they're quality, and I'm pleased that the club embraces both the society and the collection. And we are, over time, educating people, educating our own. Because youngsters have got many other things to do than to wallow in history.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that we are getting that message out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those youngsters that you mentioned there, they're still going to stand on the terraces and sing "If You Know Your History." And, many of them do want to know. And are interested, and for any knowledge, any information, any kind of knowledge that someone's trying to grow and dive into, it is all there, isn't it? It's such
a tremendous database, and it's been exploited in a very positive way.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the programme articles, which are of course one page every match day, but behind that even there's, I mean, we said the other day, like some of those articles they're books. They're astonishingly in-depth.
There should be, I mean, books aren't that, I'll get into books in a second, but books are not that popular nowadays because we've got the electronic media. But the quality is the same whether it's been printed or whether it's on the website. The other one I have now, and this is where I think I'll make you blush, is I think your interviews on the, what do we call it here, the Heritage Show are outstanding.
Thank you very much.
No, I'm not. I'm a master of understatement, and I'm not here to pat you on the back or give you an attaboy. I just think it's a refreshing. There's lots of podcasts nowadays, but the quality, the uniqueness of them, is, I think, is refreshing.
Thank you very much.
And I do appreciate. I mean, I think it's long overdue.
It means a lot coming from yourself. Obviously, as the person who kind of had the initial plan and the projection of what the society should be. Obviously, with the show, it's still early days, and we still want to get better and improve. But
we will do.
I think we've started on the right foot.
I think that the one thing that we've got to do is to get that message out. We need a better distribution, and I hope to talk to the club about that. If they in some way can promote that. How many, I don't know what you call it, clicks or likes or whatever it is that you get on. We're an order of magnitude from where we should be.
I agree. But you say that about, I mean, in terms of talking to the club about it, except that's we're talking about the whole Heritage Society here, aren't we? This isn't just like our videos and YouTube.
Oh no,
and whatever,
you're just one arm
sorts.
of it, and I think the club does embrace it. The club does realise the importance of it.
Yeah.
The other thing I have is you very kindly did some videos with myself, on legacy, and for a personal standpoint, they're great because I'm leaving something. I'm an old man. If Dr Rooney gets me to 80 or when we win the League Cup, I'll be very happy. But I'm an old man, and it's good to leave that behind for people to know what was the thinking behind these initiatives.
Yeah,
so I'm pleased that I'll be even more pleased when you get them finished.
Well, I was about to say before we kind of brush over that, for anyone who wants to know more about all of your initiatives, about the Everton Collection. Those videos are already out. They're already on YouTube. You can find them obviously on our Heritage Society YouTube channel. The first one we did, I thought was really enjoyable. We were in the town hall, weren't we, with David Prentice, and we did it as a desert island disc style with your favourite pieces of memorabilia, which was a very it felt quite grand in there. You know,
it was
very
grand.
fitting.
Isn't it a grand place? And what a great host we had in David.
Yeah, of course.
It was.
It helps when you have a friend.
And I
working
think you've
with
got
you,
that
yeah.
chemistry going.
Yeah.
It's the same with Chris. Chris's was the more difficult. We did it in the Wilmslow.
Yeah, yes.
When it was open.
And that one's on your initiatives.
And that's on
talking
the
about all the
initiatives.
things that you've
and
implemented at Everton.
The third one, when it comes out, is I think it's now in 6 parts. You tell me that.
Yeah. So this will be this summer. We'll bring it out in 6 parts, and it's lovely. It's obviously. It's actually the first thing that I'd ever hosted, to be honest. The first time I've been in front of a camera, and so we talked about your stories of the 60s.
Well, we only got you on there to make us look young, but we also had Sarah on as well.
Of course, Sarah DeBout, yeah,
so
another Heritage Society
and
member.
we did it in a way in which I was the chief of the tribe, and you were 2 of the up-and-coming brave, and I think I called her the medicine woman.
The youngsters, yeah.
They were youngsters, and I was passing it on by word of mouth.
Yeah, that's it. It comes across really nicely, and what was supposed to be an hour's conversation became many more hours. Hence the breaking up into more parts.
We went on to 2 days, didn't we?
Yeah,
and that was at the Dixie Dean Hotel. And I have to say, for Melanie Prentice, it was very kind of her to accommodate us there. And the hospitality we got was superb.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's to come as well. So that's where you can find all of these legacy projects, and I hope everyone enjoys them, because people may watch this conversation that we're having right now and go, well, why didn't you say more about that initiative? Why didn't you talk more about the collection? Why didn't you tell me more stories? It exists. It's out there.
Well, I can't tell us any more stories because I'll just be repeating myself. I think as a raconteur, you only have a list of so many stories. And I think my wife always says to me, number 15, and I tell number 15.
yeah, that's it. You take your ticket.
Take your ticket, yeah. Let me just say another initiative which is a tremendous success and I think really reflects what the society was meant to be. And it takes special people to move things in the right direction. And I think that's your dad's initiatives with the lectures that we have. I don't know what the actual official name is, the lecture programme at the Denby Castle.
Well, the Heritage Talks, Heritage Social Nights.
Well, you got to find a label for it.
We do, don't we?
Yeah.
I feel like we've got the is it acronym? Is that the word I'm looking for? EFCHS, Heritage Society, Heritage Show, Heritage Socials.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's how I've been rolling with it.
Just to let you elaborate, I've not been to one. But
Well,
I've
yeah,
heard good things about them.
Yeah, they've been absolutely brilliant so far. It's exactly what we'd kind of hoped for. That they've been taken in the way that we'd hoped they would be. The first Thursday of every month, we're in the basement of the Denby Castle in Liverpool. And in terms of calling it a social, people come down.
How many people come?
It's intimate, 50 people or thereabouts. The bar's open.
It's open to anyone?
Open to anyone. It's largely free as well. We want it to, we want education to be free.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a small fee if we have a
guest,
name, a guest who if you have
pay the
fees to cover.
expenses or something.
Yeah, exactly. But
and I
generally
believe you had a special guest the other day.
Well, we've had a few, yeah.
You know where I'm going on this.
Do I?
Yes.
Which is it?
Chief Executive.
Oh, well, of course, yeah. Yes, absolutely. In terms of our tickets and our special guests are usually on the stage and giving us a talk. But we had very special visitors in the shape of the CEO, Angus Kinnear, and Lord Grantchester graced us with his presence as well. So the kind of people who are coming down and enjoying themselves and engaging with the society and learning about the club are obviously very high profile people, and we couldn't have expected it to happen so soon, really. In terms of we began them in January of 2026.
Well, now why don't you now plug the next one? What's the next one?
Well, because I'm hoping that this particular video that we're doing right now will be watched for many years to come, and people will go, "Oh, I missed all of those."
Oh, but no, you've got to say who's next.
The ones we've had so far, at least, Rob Sawyer and Gav Buckland did a talk on Harry Catterick and Howard Kendall. On
now let me elaborate. They had written books on them, hadn't
they?
Yeah. And Rob's both of those are great guys.
Everybody who we have are such.
Great research that they do. Gavin's books are tremendous, and Rob's are equally. And Rob does so many good articles. He has this great gift of getting information from people.
Yeah.
I think it's just a natural charm.
Yeah,
You know,
for
where
sure.
I would be off-putting, he has that lovely way with him that
I
people
wouldn't say
feel
off-putting.
People,
no, but yeah.
people feel safe that in trust him. They trust him.
Oh, for sure,
And
yeah.
they're two great guys you put together.
For sure, and we must stress that everybody who is doing these talks and everybody who is a part of the society are experts. Really,
Oh,
we couldn't ask for anybody
you
better.
betcha.
And saying we couldn't ask for anybody better, I mean, the second event we had Pat Nevin. That was absolutely fantastic, and Pat was on top form, and we thought he would be. Or we were rather expected as someone who works in television and is high profile and has his face out there. We thought, well, maybe he's going to be a little more reserved with what he says and stories to tell, but he wasn't.
Well, the indication, how long did he stay?
Oh, it was hours, many hours, yeah.
That's
beyond,
that's
almost
the
to closing
indication, isn't it?
time. Yeah,
No,
he
that's
stuck
an
around for a
indication.
beer afterwards and,
Yeah,
and,
that's
met the fans and was happy to talk to us. And we always do a nice Q&A as well, and he was taking questions for a very long time.
And then my good friends Ken Rogers and David Prentice did.
Yes, that was our recent one. That was superb. I mean, to hear a couple of real Everton journalists for covering such a vast period of time. I think it was 5 decades of Everton stories from the people who are within the club.
I think
brilliant.
for younger viewers here that may not realise that the Liverpool Echo and Daily Post was a great catchment place, development place for sports journalists. They got, if you look at every newspaper in Britain, I think that's true. There is some rep, and the BBC. Phil McNulty's at the BBC. I think he's sports editor or something. But they're all placed there.
Yeah.
It was this great development that I give credit to the Echo. I call it the Echo, but also, in the past, it's always done that. It's always had top of the line people. And I hope that continues. Yeah,
for sure. Like as I say, we're hoping those. Well, they will be the first Thursday of every month, and that will continue into the new season. And for what it's worth as well, at the moment I'm working on making those into small podcasts as well. So if people do want to sign up, and they're all recorded. They're not filmed, but they are recorded, so that we have all of those stories documented.
I know that we
available for the public.
One of the things I think when we talk about the Everton Collection, I think also we need to expand it not just from paper but to video. We need to have, and it takes all sorts. I mean, the club obviously generates a lot of videos, but they've got to be stored in a safe place for future reference. Can I talk about books?
Please do. You have a list of your agenda. Yeah,
I'm always prepared.
Absolutely.
That's what makes me different from other people. We're in the Heritage Society. I think there's over 100 titles have been written by people.
Yeah,
it's just tremendous, isn't it?
It is remarkable.
I mean, it's remarkable. I think mine are at the bottom of the list. I
think they're staggered throughout. Maybe let's give you some credit.
I've done 19, but let me just mention a few people here. James Corbett, fantastic books as he's written. The Everton Encyclopedia. It's right. So the name says everything. But other books he's done. He did Howard Kendall's biography. He did Neville Southall's biography. He did Bob Latchford's.
Right.
These are the key people in our past, and they're entertaining books, quality books. Rob Sire. I think Rob may have done. He's catching me up. I've done 19 books, so I think Rob is catching me up. Great stuff.
He's trying his best to catch you up for sure. Yeah, I mean, prolific.
Tremendous stuff. I mean, I take my hat off to him. Yeah. He captures not the mainstream of themes. He finds pockets of unusual characters of people to write books on, which are interesting, fascinating. The other ones I have here is Gavin Buckland.
Of course.
Gavin, great writer. Great books. I think possibly his books are more successful than anybody else's.
It'd be interesting to see.
I'm not sure. I only publish, my books, 2,500 the I'm not really interested in people's feedback on how good the books are. I'm more interested if they sell out in a week. That's my target. I don't want any more. My wife doesn't want them in the house.
Yeah, don't want them lying around.
So the idea is to promote them and sell them in a week. And they do. I mean, we've only had, I think, we did a children's book that didn't go over too well, but maybe we didn't understand that market. Simon Hart, another one, great books. Great, I mean, these are professional writers. Simon,
yeah, of course.
Is an author. Becky Talentine, her series of books are fascinating, where people give her the questions to ask of other people.
Yeah.
And they're entertaining. I mean, a lot of the quotes around the new stadium, I think, come from Becky's books.
Yeah.
And then Peter Lupson. Peter does that great one about, the origins of the club from a religious standpoint, or the influence of religion on the early days of football.
Yeah.
And then Ken Rogers, of course. Ken did Everton Glory, is it called?
Goodison Glory.
Goodison Glory.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, he's a professional writer. I mean,
Who
someone
better?
with tremendous background in. He was the chief sports editor at the Liverpool Record for a long time. So I'm just giving those people credit, and I'm sure there are others there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I'm not doing. Steve Zolchek does great books.
Yeah.
He's a Z, so he wasn't on my list. But there's other people who've done it. But
well, you say 100 books.
100 books, yeah.
It's an astonishing achievement.
Well, I think
and counting. They're still being written.
And they always say everyone's got a book inside of them, and as my wife said, that's where mine should have stayed. So let me tell you other things that people won't necessarily know about in the Heritage Society is that back in the pre-Premier League era, if you won the title or the FA Cup, if you won the title, the First Division title, you had to make so many appearances in that season to get a medal.
Yes.
And this was before substitute. Nowadays with the bench full of substitutes, everyone gets 5 minutes. And some of the key people in those seasons didn't quite make it. In 62-63, that championship, we had a young guy called Ray Veal, came from Doncaster Rovers. Yeah. And John Morris had got injured. We just signed John from Liverpool, behind Shankly's back. And Ray Veal came, and he was thrown straight in to the first team, and I think he made 6-8 appearances. Of course, John recovered. And this was a young lad, he was 18, 19, so he really hadn't adjusted to the tempo of First Division top-flight football. And then another one is my old friend Roger Kenyon. Yeah. Roger substituted in the 69-70 season for Brian LeBon. Brian had an Achilles problem at that time, and Roger was his heir apparent. And then the third one I've got here is Derek Temple. In that year, in the 62-63 season, John again was out, and Derek played, I think, the last half dozen games.
Yeah.
And he's there with all the celebrations. You see him with the but never got a medal.
Yeah.
So what, in the past, our leaders, Paul Wharton, and in the past, Brendan Connolly, they decided they would appeal to the authorities. Well, actually, they followed the example set by Arsenal. Arsenal wanted to, as Arsenal always do, they always get their own way, and they wanted to, want a bit of flexibility in the rules. So they applied for some of their players to get them, and once that had been done, we followed suit with the support of the club, and with the financial support. I think we paid half and half, I'm not sure, and we got medals for these people.
Yeah, what a fantastic thing for a collector to do.
For them. Ray Veal is now in Australia, is he? Something like that.
I want to say New Zealand.
What?
New Zealand, maybe?
New Zealand, yeah. New Zealand.
Long way away, anyway.
Rogers is equally far away in Chester. And Derek, of course, you see all the while from Ormskirk.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm telling this tale because one of the highlights of my time with Everton was I was asked to present Derek's medal to him.
Yeah. What an honour. What an honour.
What a lovely man.
Of course,
and,
well,
and
yeah.
you know, we're a tremendous Evertonian.
He
But
really is.
to be asked to do that, it's special.
Yeah.
These are the special things you do in life.
I mean, nobody has a bad word to say about Derek Temple today. He really is one of the great Everton icons, I think, and it's such a wonderful ambassador for the club even to this day. And so for yourself to have had that moment
It was a great
rewarding
footballer
him.
as well.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a great footballer and a modest, lovely, modest man. Lovely, lovely, modest man. Let me then go on to the other things that we do. We restore graves.
Yeah.
There are lots of clubs that do that now. We've done 10 of them, all the way from Will Cuff in...
I think we've done more, you know.
Oh, have we really?
We've done at least 10, let's say that.
All right, we've done at
There's
least
some in the
10.
works as well.
Yeah. Oh,
so,
yeah, and I think there, can I mention people?
Yeah, please do.
I
Yeah,
think
absolutely. I'll
we
let
need
you
to
take the lead.
recognise. I mean, this is a group activity,
Yeah.
but there are people who lead the activities, like your
Yeah.
dad did on the website, and like you were doing on the interviews. But Jamie Yates,
Yes.
he's our man on the graves, and we restore people's graves, sometimes in cooperation with other clubs. If the guy is like, I went to one at Celtic, which really great turnout of people.
Yeah.
And we were looked after by Celtic, and it was a guy called Jerry Kelly, not a big name, but he was in the Dixie Deans team that won the title, and it was tremendous. And the thing is that everyone appreciates it. It elevates that person, the player, to a certain level. You know, he may have been forgotten, but his family's involved.
I was about to say that's the thing as well, to show the family that they're not forgotten.
And the Glasgow media, the Scottish media were there. And of course, you know, our club, I think in that time we may have sent up Graham Sharp. Or something. It was tremendous. And we've done, as you say, more than 10 of them. And the other one we have that we do annually is the Remembrance Day.
Of course, yeah.
Now, that's a solemn one.
It is.
But it's respectful.
But important, yeah, for sure.
It is, yeah.
I'm Henry Corbett, chaplain at Everton Football Club, member of the Everton Heritage Society. And last year, we thought this might be the last Remembrance Day service outside Goodison Park by the Dixie Dean statue. But as all Evertonians know, the ground has been saved. So we've just had our service here again with a wonderful turnout of people. Lots of wreaths being laid from different parts of the club. Paul Kelly gave a short address and thanked people, especially his good wife Jean, for helping to set up the service. And you'll see behind the two memorial plaques for the World War I and World War II. There are other names that could be going on there, so watch that space. And the service has those two themes. First, to remember those who sacrificed. And the other theme is relevant to all of us, which is to be people who work for peace. Because when this service was began after the end of the First World War, people were so horrified by the loss of life and the tragedy of war that they said, we've got to be people who work for peace. So it was lovely to have such a big group gathering around and involved in a service which I hope respects those who've given their lives and also says to all of us, we need to be people who work for peace.
So much of our work is about remembering people who more important than those who've given their lives. And
that's what, I mean, you know, my wife and I did those plaques that we have, the marble plaques, but hers is, mine lists the players. Of course, we know more players now that lost their lives. But hers is the general one for us fans, for supporters, shareholders, staff. It's just, we're very lucky that we didn't have to fight in the war. Hopefully that's going to be your case. But I'm very lucky, your dad's very lucky, that we weren't called up to fight in the war.
Absolutely.
I just can't imagine what it was like for these young men who lost their lives. The least we can do is pay respect to them in an honourable way.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think the one solace in, if another world war does break out, is that it seems that world wars only happen when Everton win the league. So
I think there may be a time,
so cross your fingers.
Well, I'll be gone back. I'm just working on the League Cup. You can work on the Premier League. The other ones that we have, I mention always things of a teamwork and it's collaboration, but we have access through the people's individual initiatives to some incredible data. You know, the Everton Collection is unparalleled in its data, but we've got like Everton results. Steve Johnson's. I mean, who doesn't look on that to see?
Everyone's using that on a daily basis almost, aren't we?
The young guy, Bradley Cates, is Everton Stato, EFC Stato. Similar.
Yeah.
And I use his transfer information in my books. You know, transfer information can be questionable. And I think he's done the research that I support his information.
He digs out some remarkable things, Bradley. You know, when you see tweets appear or something, you think, how on earth do you know that? How have you found that? And often so quickly as well. You know, when something happens in a game and he's like, did you know that's the first time that's happened since this? And
I always think that, not being a drinker, I always thought about though being in a pub team with him.
Yeah.
You know, he could be our star.
Definitely needs a special subject. Yeah. Well, to mention that, he's been on Only Connect, you know, a game show on television here in the UK, which very much requires an in-depth knowledge of.
You're making him out to be a geek or a nerd or whatever it is, but he's a nice
very
guy.
Much so.
He's a very intelligent young man.
I'm amazed by his knowledge. That's all I want to get across there.
Let me do another one here, which is Billy Smith and the Blue Correspondent, Blue Chronicles, I think it is, where he has gone through from day one. 1878, and he's pulled the files initially of the Liverpool Echo and the local papers, and he's gone through every week. I think he ran out of steam maybe in the 80s, but I understand that they started up again. And what a tremendous database that is. It's like having, it's not just the Echo now, because now we have access online to other databases. It's tremendous.
It's in depth.
And the other one I mentioned before, James Corbett's Everton Encyclopedia is a tremendous source of information, as a summarised source of information. And then it's hard to leave people out. Lyndon Lloyd, he did Toffee
Web,
which isn't.
Is it now? Is it Evertonia?
He now does Evertonia, but Toffee Web is now a betting site. He left that, and it's not quite the same as it used to be.
It used to be a forum, didn't it? A prolific, everyone on there sharing their knowledge.
But they also have a database. That was Michael Kenrick's area, was the forum, I think. But the database, match reports, etc., articles, that was Lyndon's. He's a great writer. And that's in there. That's me. I've patted enough people on the back. I'm sincere about it.
I let you just kind of go off there because I thought, you've got a list of people that you want to name, and it's very worthwhile for sure. Everybody does such incredible work, and there are, as you say, there's more people to name even beyond that.
Let me just say, and I've overlooked people, and I apologise for not. But you don't mean listening to the telephone directory of people.
Exactly. So, to bring things back onto kind of yourself, I suppose, and more stories, I guess. I want to know kind of what your thoughts are. We've talked recently about the 60s, and one of the things you said quite a lot at that point was how it felt like a new era. Dawn of a new era with John Moores coming in and changing things at Everton and setting us on a new path. How do you compare to the modern day and to now? Do you have that feeling now of similarity perhaps of the 60s, or how different is it?
Well, we've got the third billionaire now, don't we? We know John Moores was the first one, and Mr. Mashiri was the second one, and now we've got the third one. The difference, the similarity between the first and the third is that they're businessmen. They're proven successful businessmen. Not saying that Mr. Mashiri wasn't, but these are hands-on people. They know how the business works. They bring, in John Moores' case, they brought standards to the club. I'm not saying the club didn't have them, but he defined the standards, what his expectations were. And you better, live up to those. Can I just talk about a little bit about John Moores? His grandson is Lord Grantchester, of course, and he started football pools with others, very successful. he went into the department stores, in Littlewood's department stores. There used to be one in every town, one in every large town. And of course, he had the mail order business. He cooperated with Sears Roebuck, the big American organisation. When this sounds very old-fashioned now in the days of Amazon and the internet commerce, but in the days gone by, you had a catalogue and you had to pick items out of your catalogue, and sooner or later they came to you. It's not like Prime, where it comes the next day, but he brought that to Europe, to the United Kingdom. Tremendous. You never see people who do have 3 areas of business. They're normally successful people normally have one.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that good at. They may dabble in the other things, but he succeeded in 3 areas, which is
so much is built on the back of it.
Yeah, I don't think he gets the recognition. I know we've got a university named after him, but I think we as people of Merseyside are indebted to him. He was loyal. He wasn't from Merseyside to start with, but he was loyal to Merseyside, and he never left it.
The money behind the new Everton came from John Moores, who took over as chairman in 1960. A co-founder of the Littlewoods organisation, he'd supported the club from boyhood. But when Everton finished 5th in his first season, Moores wasn't satisfied. He sacked Carey, breaking the news in a taxi. And down the years, Moores often repeated his Everton philosophy.
Everton expects success. We have a very good crowd and a very good crowd, a very crowd who are very loyal. But of course, they pay money and they expect to see us do well. If we don't do well, then something should be done about it, and something will be done about it.
Yeah, and as you say, change the course of Everton, and hopefully, as I say, with the similarities and having these new owners, whether they define something of a new era, whether they...
Well, the difference is John Moores was hands-on. He'd show up here.
Yeah.
He'd go around checking everybody's, he was a taskmaster, he was a disciplinarian, he had these tremendous demanding standards. This is a different approach. Here, we are delegating it to the chief executive. He has his mission, he has his responsibilities, he has his budgets, he has his targets.
Yeah, of course.
It's a different style of management. So I don't think we can expect our new owners to be as active in any way. That's the way
times have changed.
Business has changed.
Times have changed for sure.
But I'm sure they have the same standards and they have the same expectations.
This kind of brings us on to something that we've kind of touched on already, but the club's identity. And you talk about how John Moore set that standard, and so many of us take such pride in who we are as Evertonians and what it is to be an Evertonian, but can anyone actually define it?
What is Everton?
What is Everton? What is Everton to you? What is Everton's identity to you, and how do you see it?
Well, this is like trying to define what a woman is, but I'm not going to go in that direction.
Please.
When I did an MBA at Purdue in Indiana, and it was a case approach. They just give you a lot of information, and you have to work it out yourself. Through analysis and conclusions. And one of our subjects, and we could prepare cases for others to look at. And one of the things that I did was prepare one on Everton. Now, Everton, this was in the mid-70s, so Everton back then was parochial.
Yeah.
Successful, but parochial. And one of the, I can remember the analysis of it is, what is Everton? Well, it is, what business is Everton in? It's in the entertainment business. Sometimes we may question that, but that's what we're in, that's the business that we come to Everton to be entertained. It's also in the quasi-religious business.
Yeah,
we come here to worship.
Yeah.
I give it a little bit of thought to our discussion today, and I tried to describe what we are as a group, and we're a cult.
Yeah.
We're the Everton cult. We're the Everton family, but we worship no matter what goes on. And we're at Goodison here, but no matter what goes on that pitch, we're going to show up.
No,
we may moan and complain and whatever,
but we're still here.
We're still here, and we always will be.
And we've proven it from time and time again.
Certainly
through
have.
thick and thin.
And we are loyal to the club. I mean, you put us amongst other people. You know, I have nothing said about Everton unless I'm the one who's saying,
Yeah.
I'm moaning about it. I won't let
Yeah.
anybody say anything about Everton. So that's what I think the business. That's what we came out of this analysis in when I was in university in America. That those were the two things. Looking at it now, though, and I think I've said this to you before, we are, how do you find them? We are a club that has an unparalleled history, heritage, trailblazers. And we continued that up. I mean, you know, we built our third ground, you know, we were there pushing the envelope. And we also have, as a part of our cult, we have a fan base that I think is second to none in its loyalty, in its commitment, and I think that we enjoy being a part of that.
Yeah.
And long may that continue.
For sure.
And I encourage youngsters to get involved in it.
Yeah.
You know, for me, growing up in Widnes, you know, a rugby league town, I always say there weren't many cop-outs. Well, there may have been, but they were hiding because they were in the second division.
Yeah.
But we were all proud to be Evertonians. The ones that follow football, we were all proud to be Evertonians. My family, I'm fifth generation, and my grandfather indoctrinated me. I'm going to read out what his beliefs are.
Yes, as written in Everton Crazy, I believe this is, isn't it? Yeah.
He had 10 of them. He used to tell me this. David, sit down, I'm going to tell you this. This is what Everton is, and this is why you're an Evertonian. But I can only remember 8 of them, so please bear with me. And they're obvious. Everton were blue and white. None of this blue shorts nonsense.
Yeah.
Everton were blue and white. Everton play cultured and entertaining football. That's the school of science. Of course, if we're in a relegation fight, we may want to change that a little. We are leaders, not followers. We always have been. We always were, maybe until the last couple of decades. And an example of that is the new stadium.
Exactly.
We're leaders.
We're getting back to that, aren't we?
Also in that way, thanks to John Moores, who made this commitment, he said in one of the programmes that he is committed to providing the club with the greatest facilities, providing the supporters with the greatest facilities in the land, and the players with the greatest facilities, which then was Belfield. And of course, Goodison was on the leading edge back then. This one may not have travelled well. We develop our own. That may be, you know, in the days before we had so many imports, and nowadays you don't see many players coming through, do you?
Not so many, but I know that there's a concerted effort to re-establish Everton's academy at the moment and put a lot of effort back into that. So while you're right, you know, there are a lot of foreign players making up the league at the moment. I'm hoping we're getting back to at least trying our best to develop local talent.
I think one of the things that that I'm critical of is the reserve league. In days gone by, we had the Central League. And that was made up of youngsters who were on the way up and guys who had lost their places in the first team and were fighting or recovering from injury and fighting to get back. And it was a very competitive league. I mean, you paid your dues in reserve league. We now send players out on loan, and I fear that when we send them out on loan, I'm sure we monitor them, but they never seem to come back.
It's not quite the same.
I can only think of Leon Osman, who went out on loan and came back a great footballer.
Yeah. Well, even then, we were talking about Leon Osman recently, actually, but made his debut as a 23-year-old out of the academy, you know, so he took some time there as well.
Can I say something about him? He has one leg longer than the other.
One leg longer than the other?
I hope Leon doesn't mind me saying that, but what a thing to overcome.
I didn't know that.
He didn't tell many people. He certainly wouldn't have told them when he was
it's out there now.
Yeah, I hope. Maybe that's something we can edit.
I'll ask him when I see him.
Yeah. Here's the 7th one of my granddad, which was Everton reaches into I've got it here, the soul of the community. We are a Merseyside-based club.
If somebody said the other day to me, there's nothing more scouse than being an Evertonian.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've used the right terms there.
It's being an Evertonian is the scousest thing you can do, and it was it was the singer of the Lars. I can't remember, but yeah, that was a.
I wrote a book saying
quotes.
that Evertonians eat scouse.
Yeah,
and that's true. Everton is run by Evertonians for the benefit of Evertonians. That's true.
Yeah,
and that should be the way it is. You know, we do that with certainly with managers. We've not always done that with chief executives. We still don't do that. But as long as you've got the best person for the job, you've got the best. It doesn't have to be an Evertonian as long as the best person for the job.
Yeah.
And then I've put down here, we have these special bonds between the fans. And that is one of the things that I think separates us from other teams. One of the things that I always talk about Everton as being special. You know, I brainwash people. And why are they special? Well, there's these bonds, aren't there, that we have that makes us special. You know, you talk to one another, you know, you bump into someone, all of a sudden you're brothers.
Yeah, all over the world as well. When you're on holiday,
I meet them all over the world, and we've become brothers. But what I would like us to be is, realistically, we may not win as much silverware as we have in the past, because the competition is so intense. But we have to make ourselves special without silverware, so that people say, Everton is this. You know, Everton is special. I recognise they're special in some way. We've got to work on that, because we can't rely on silverware. I went to I've got to make a confession here. I went on a tour to Anfield, and I did the tour at the new stadium to make a comparison.
Yeah,
they were both great.
Yeah,
and I say about the Anfield tour is that in no way did they put Everton down, and in no way did they exaggerate their accomplishments. Now let me qualify that. We did the tour, and I mean, they were very polite, very professional, very knowledgeable people on both tours. I was the only English-speaking person on the Anfield tour. They'd all come. Well, I'm American, so they'd all come from all over the world. They do 30 a day.
Yeah, it's one of the top attractions in the city, isn't it? If not the top attraction.
Really well attended, and it was enjoyable. It's good to see. It's our old ground. Yeah. It's enjoyable. And then I went to the museum.
Yeah.
What a disappointment.
Yeah.
We can talk about an Everton museum or an Everton exhibition centre, later on. But as a museum, they had a couple of heritage displays, but the rest of it was just sort of videos of Jamie Carragher and Steven Gerrard.
Well, yeah.
They were appealing to that younger audience.
Yeah, and of course, when you think about what our ground can be and hopefully will be in the future, you know, obviously you say you've been on the tour this weekend, and I hope it was impressive, but it's still I keep saying it's still an infant, it's still a baby, this ground, you know, like it's not finished.
It doesn't, well, I mean, what do they call them, murals? It's lacking murals, which will come over time.
For sure.
Which will come over time.
Exactly.
But on the, and let me just say about the Liverpool tour is, I was a bit disappointed. But they came out at the exit, and they have this display cabinet with 6 silver trophies in. And I don't care who you support.
Yeah.
When you look at those, you are speechless.
Yeah, it is significant, isn't
it? It's magnificent. That I'm envious.
Yeah.
You know.
Of course. I mean, I'm a big believer that we should have. I keep saying here we're at Goodison Park, but of course here at Everton at Hill Dickinson, I think there should be museum space and acknowledgement of like a visitor centre, as you say, because our history is arguably so much richer than our neighbours. And of course, if they've got their 6 big trophies in the cabinet, well, why do we not have 9 league trophies?
But that's all they have.
Cups?
They have that and a bit on John Holding and the rest of its films about Carragher and Stevie G.
Yeah.
There's none of the richness of trailblazing.
And we've got so much more, haven't we?
Yeah. Totally.
Now,
but that's not. But that I'm not being critical of Liverpool there.
Yeah.
Now I went to the shop.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't buy anything. I went to Liverpool shop and it's just chock-a-block with things. I went to the Everton shop and it was Spartan. And I didn't buy anything because I couldn't afford to buy any stuff.
David, I'm a little bit conscious of time at the moment.
Right.
We can talk all day, can't we? But you, of course, you have a meeting with the CEO this afternoon. So I'm going to skip through just a little bit. I want to just have kind of maybe round this off with a quick chat about statues. Because there's been a talk amongst Evertonians recently, and the club have announced that Hale Dickinson will have its first 2 statues, which I believe will be Howard Kendall and Dixie Dean, which of course means that the statues here at Goodison will stay where they are. Of course, we've got Dixie Dean already at the park end, and the aptly named the Holy Trinity outside St Luke's down the other end of Goodison Road. First of all, I want to mention, that was you, wasn't it? You named the Holy Trinity.
It was me, Brian LeBone, and Derek Hatton in a conversation. And we came up, Derek suggested it, and he said that we need to put, mine's Gladys Street's Holy Trinity. And I did a book with Becky Talentine, a very popular book that all 3 of them contributed to. And we then interviewed all the teammates and their opponents. I interviewed George Best even, and everyone was in awe of them. But I'm not taking credit for it. What I would say, though, is Derek Temple, about statues. I went to Anfield, and of course you've got Shankly, then you've got others, Bob Paisley and Emily Hughes. But their statues are expressive. They say something. Ours, the Dixie Dean one's fine. He was coming out on the tunnel with the ball on his arm. But I find that the ones of the Holy Trinity are sort of bland. They don't say anything to me. My point is, when they opened, and Colin Harvey was there on the opening, I was with Derek Temple. And he looked at them and said, which one's which? Besides looking at the back of the shirts. So which one's which? And then he said, I know what it is. He said, the one of balls looking at the bookmakers.
So who would you have then going forwards, you know, in the new grounds? I'm sure we won't be limited to 2. Who would be your Everton? I don't know, not to call it perhaps a Mount Rushmore. Your Everton Mount Rushmore, or who deserves a statue, and why?
Well, they have to be the people who made the biggest impact on the club, on the pitch or off the pitch. So you've got to go to the St Domingo early Everton era and pick somebody from that. I think my question is, who decides, and how is it decided? This is something the Heritage Society should be involved in. Fans should be, but they should have election.
Fans and experts,
Well, no, the experts can make a shortlist and the fans can pick. That's how we did the Gladys Street Hall of Fame. And that's why it covers, you know, it's not lopsided with present-day players. So I think you pick somebody, maybe you pick somebody from a decade. Why not have 10, 12 of these?
But who are yours?
But I'm going to get to it. There's a complication, you see, that some decades were extremely successful. And like when it came to the Everton Giants, or what are they called? Everton
Giants.
Everton Giants. The problem there is that Alex Young and Alan Ball played in the same decade. How do you decide? I can decide, because I think Alex Young, and your dad's looking at me here, was a god. Now, because there's no footage of him, because Harry Catterick didn't like the television cameras in the ground, there's no footage of him to show his wonderful silky skills, breathtaking skills. But if he's not careful, he'll be overlooked. So I would have Alex Young. Now, what pose you'd have, I don't know. Maybe you have to elevate him, levitate him off the ground, because he could, you know, for a little fella, he could
give him a halo.
He was like Michael Jordan. He could reach such heights. I would have that Neville. Of course, you'd have Neville Southall. You'd have, and you skip maybe a group there. You've then got, I think in that team, in the 80s team, there were good candidates. Peter Reid changed the club. You know, let me just, I'm not going to go into detail. Then you jump into the 70s, Bob Latchford. He's everyone's hero. Bob would be a great one. My wife would like that one. She was a big fan of it. And then in the 60s, I'm saying, why don't you have a Brian LeBone one? Who made an impact on Merseyside regarding Everton? Nobody more than Brian LeBone. Before our days of ambassadors, he was our ambassador. He was out there every day as Everton.
Yeah.
And, wow, tremendous guy. I mean, well, we're indebted to Brian, a tremendous guy.
Of course, you knew him personally as well.
I
did
do.
I was beyond the football pitch.
Well, we adopted one another because we had all these. I mean, when I do my stuff, I like to do it with people. And Brian had this black book of addresses. Actually, it was masquerading as beer mats and bits of of envelopes. He was tremendous. But then you go on like Joe Mercer. How could you not have Joe Mercer there? Or T.G. Jones, Tommy Lawton. The problem there is you've got Dixie overwhelming other people. So I'm just throwing names out there.
Yeah.
I'm not picking them.
Okay, fair enough. I won't put you under pressure.
But there's a good pool of people to select from.
Yeah.
And now I know we're closing, but I want to say something very serious now, if I may.
Absolutely, yeah. Please do.
In the last year, we lost a great Evertonian and a special person who this club is made up of. As we say now, we don't have many local players, but this is a guy who came through the ranks. I saw him play in the Central League team when I couldn't afford to go to away games. He played in the Central League team with his great friend Colin Harvey, and you knew they were destined for greatness. I'm talking about Tommy Wright.
Tommy Wright, yeah.
Tommy Wright, we have been blessed to have, I think, post-war, 4 tremendous right-backs. From today with Seamus, Gary Stevens, Alex Parker. Alex Parker, was, let me say, Seamus, what a guy.
Yeah.
Gary Stevens, what an athlete. I mean, so overlooked, He may be, I'm not picking which is the best of them all, but you can make a case for any of them. Parker, I think, generally was regarded as the best right back in the land at that time, and he was famous for the sliding tackle and coming away from the ball with the ball. And Tommy Wright. Now, Tommy was one of the first overlapping fullbacks, but he had that special something. He was hard. He was a warrior. We sort of like brand people as being, tough guys nowadays. We talked the other day about Tarkowski or Duncan or whatever.
Yeah, not quite the same.
But the real warriors are the ones that don't brag about it. They're the Kevin Ratcliffes and the Dave Watsons and the Tommy Wrights.
Yeah.
George Best told me that his hardest component was Tommy Wright.
Yeah.
And and what he said about Tommy was not only did he tackle you, right, but he recovered so quickly that you thought you got away from him, and all of a sudden another Tommy Wright's coming at you.
Yeah.
His speed, his foot speed was tremendous. So I'd just like to pay that tribute to him. And he was a lovely guy.
Yeah.
A great Evertonian, a lovely guy.
Well, thank you. I think he's one on a very long list of players for myself who I wish I'd had the opportunity to watch. His name comes up often as being the greatest.
Playing for England, it was his last game for England in the World Cup. He played against Brazil, and I swear he's the best man on the pitch.
Yeah,
I swear that. His performance was outstanding.
I'm going to dig that out. Yeah. I'm going to go and watch it. I'm going to go and watch things like Alex the Great, and I'm going to go and reminisce.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'd just like to thank you for a life dedicated to Everton, for all of your initiatives and ambitious projects that hopefully will continue to thrive long into the future.
The future, people say, I don't dwell on the past. I mean, it may sound like that. I look forward to the future. But if our future is anything like our past, we're going to be lucky, aren't we? I look forward to the past, I guess you could say. I
certainly hope so, yeah.
I think it will be. It may not be covered in silverware like it used to be. But when we do run silverware, it'll be something special.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. So once again, David, thanks very much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Till next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Another deep dive into Everton history there with Dr David France. The work that we've been doing recently, I'm honoured to be a part of, and I was honoured to be asked to document his legacy. All of those links are in the description below the video. I'll point you towards the memorabilia special that we did, Desert Island memorabilia, absolutely wonderful, highly recommended. There's a film on his initiatives with Chris Beasley in the Winslow as well. All of the good projects that he started up, that'll be linked below as well. And keep an eye out this summer for David France's Stories of the 60s, a 6-part series that'll be out this summer. A real privilege to be a part of, and a real privilege to be here. You know, like I'm on the touchline at Goodison Park. What an honour! It's truly not lost on me. I'm a lucky boy. Please subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment, and let us know your thoughts on such a great legacy as David France's. Also, I'll point you towards our Patreon account, where you can donate £3 a month to be a part of that, and that's where you can access the audio podcasts of our Heritage Social Nights. These are occasions the first Thursday of every month, downstairs at the Denby Castle in Liverpool, where we have a little social, have a drink, a few experts, a few guests, as David mentioned earlier, and you can have those as podcasts. £3 a month. What more can you ask? Nice and accessible. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm just taking it in. Can you tell? It's just mad. It's mad. I'm going to go and sit in my old seat. Till next time.
Heritage.